Ramdev Agarwal, Joint Managing Director at Motilal Oswal Financial Services Limited, is joining us right now to take some questions. Ramdev, great to have you with us here. Good morning. Prashant this side. You know, like always, I don't want to start with stock markets today. We'll get to that, I guess, a little bit later in our conversation. But I just want to start with what your thoughts are on what's happening to gold and what's happening to the rupee. Many believe both are in a way sort of linked. It's a negative feedback loop, which essentially is has been very, very difficult to break. Where do you stand on what the government efforts have been towards curbing gold imports, and why do you think so far the government's been unsuccessful?
There are two different problems. One is the current account deficit, which has gone to upwards of 5%, which is unsustainable. So one of the culprit of high current account deficit is gold imports, apart from energy and other things. So gold is, apart from jewelry buying and savings instrument for rural people, I think a lot of smart people have also got into this trade more recently through ETFs and other instruments. So I think probably government's effort right now is good, and they are kind of showing the concern, but I think they need to be far more proactive and much more kind of understanding the problem itself. My sense is that gold versus other instruments also have to be tackled, in the sense that they have to make, while making gold unattractive, they have to make fixed government bonds or the equities, they have to make far more attractive, so that people can make choices between gold, investing in gold and investing in other instruments. Clearly there are ways whereby things can be made more attractive, like in dividend, if you in equities, if you remove the dividend distribution tax or reduce it significantly from 17-18% to more like 2-3%, I think there will be sea change in the outlook for equities, attraction of it, maybe not in very short term, but little longer term. In terms of bonds, maybe again you can look at the taxation on the interest on the bonds. So I think you have to, because the people who are investing in bonds, gold for last 25-30 years, they are actually concerned about the underlying inflation in this economy, which is about anywhere between 8 to 10% for last 30-40 years compounded. So you have to give a solution to the people who are buying gold in terms of how do they protect themselves against the continuous erosion of purchasing power because of inflation. One, you can reduce the inflation itself, and second is that if that is not possible, at least give the people some other alternative mechanism, which is more domestic oriented rather than import intensive.
But Ramdev, I mean, despite what the financial media or brokers or anybody in the financial services industry has said, which is essentially given a call to return to equities over the last 4 or 5 years, retail investors have been actually smart, right? They've stayed with gold, they've stayed with real estate, and both have done well so far. So they've been actually very wise. So my question is there a problem in that sense with them being in the asset classes which are doing well? I think not.
Yeah, so you have to create an asset class which will do better than the asset classes which they are gravitating to. The problem is not so much from the reality side, but because that is not import intensive, but problem is from the gold, which is import intensive. So you have to create something which is looks gold. It looks as good as gold, but it is better in terms of solidity, or it has to be issuer has to be government. It has to be having the same characteristic as inflation, beating the way gold is beating. It has to be as liquid, and it should be very convenient. So like gold is big trouble to hold it. There is a cost to hold it, and it's a security issues. Whereas if you do a demat paper, which is government backed, I think it will be a much better option. So you have to create those options. Think about it, because there is some segment of government buyers. They are not mad, or ill-informed rural India. There is a well-informed, smart urban India buyers also. They can understand if there is a smart instrument which is better than gold looking. I think they will converge to that.
You know, the other point I think which is at the crux of it is essentially the continuous debasement of currency, right? Which is inflation. I mean, that's the crux of the problem. So should you see gold as a commodity? Should you see that as a currency? I mean, I think the smart people who have gotten onto this trade think that it's a currency. It's not a commodity because it's not consumed like a commodity. But you know, unlike paper which can be printed, gold, the production from mines increases only marginally every year. So it's a currency, not a commodity.
Yeah, so the real root cause for sustained gold purchase is, of course, the very high level of CPI, which has been prevailing for so many years. I mean, it's really running very, very high and eroding the purchasing price of rupees. So I think there is a sustained buying, and what happens is that whatever price fall happens because of dollar price decrease of gold, that is made up by rupee depreciation. So at a consumer level, it is never felt that there is a major drop in the the nominal gold price. So I think the bigger problem is the way we are managing our economy and the way that we are managing our currency. So and if we can, of course, we must try to improve that. But if we cannot improve that, at least offer something which is as good as gold or better than gold, but it is not import related. I mean, that's the only thing I'm saying.
Okay, got that. So, I mean, at this stage, and you know, more people, I can say, you know, investment in stock markets from retail investors is at multi-decade lows. Investments in more people invest in gold than they do in stock markets. I guess, safely say that. So it's a relevant question.
The total mutual fund, yeah.
No, go on. You're making a point.
Yeah, what I was saying was the extent of flight of capital from equity market is so total that in last 2 months, I think officially gold import is about $15 billion. Total AUM of equity mutual fund is about $35 billion. So, and that is including appreciation. I mean, there are a whole lot of mutual fund schemes which are there, and maybe 10 rupees has gone to 100 rupees and 150 rupees and all. So actually people would have not given more than $10-15 billion into total equity mutual funds so far. Whereas in 2 months you have bought gold worth $15 billion, and as we talk, people are again buying another $5-7 billion. Every month we are putting $7-8 billion into the gold. So the extent of money flight into gold vis-a-vis what equity has attracted so far, even in good time as well as bad time put together, is ridiculous. So I mean, somebody has to look at it and think why equity is so bad. And if you look at 34 years starting from 78, 79 BSE index, come dividend, equity has done 15 times better than the bonds, and gold has done only 2.5-3 times better than bonds. So clearly there is a case for equities, but I think the whole regulatory environment is not conducive for money to be flowing very freely, smoothly, long term, without any cycle into equities. And I think they just choked the whole flow into the equities.
Okay, I guess, you know, one simple explanation is people don't have very long memories. I mean, that could be the data that you cited for the last 3 decades plus is, I mean, is stunning. The outperformance is stunning, but I think you know, memories are a little shorter than that. My question is, as somebody who tracks you know, most of these things, most financial asset classes, is there an advice you want to give investors at this stage with what you see and your prognosis of the situation in terms of economy, current account deficit, where we are right now? Would you have the confidence to tell viewers that, well, you know, don't buy gold, buy equities?
Yeah, clearly. I mean, see, equity as an asset class is clearly out of favor, and over a period of time, equities have done very well at current levels of stock market. I mean, one is the index, and second is, you know, you can go for active investing. But I'm just saying that if you take even index as a benchmark for your equity returns, it has been staggering. I mean, including dividend, to get about 15-17% compounded with little volatility, I mean, up and down. I think it's one of the most wonderful asset and very safe. And I mean, India is at the at the cusp of next 10-15 years of major contributor to the global growth. I mean, I was just reading in FT, today's FT, that the next 10 years, the 50% of the global growth will come from China and India will be one of the large contributor to that, unlike in the past. So we are going to benefit from this growth, and this is a time for India. Of course, we need little better leadership in Delhi and better governance for sure. But those things keep happening. I mean, sometimes you get good management, sometimes you get bad. So we have had our, I think, share of bad management. We'll see some better management in next 5-6 years. So I think stock markets, equities will be a much better asset class than gold, I would think. I mean, I have been wrong in my call on gold in terms of understanding of gold in last 10 years. But I would think that equity will do very well in next 10 years.
Okay, that's a pretty emphatic statement. Ramdeo, I request you to stay there. I have to take a very quick commercial break. We'll continue our conversation on the other side. Back in 2. Ramdeo Agarwal is with us. We've been talking about gold, attractiveness of gold, and Ramdeo thinks next 10 years equities will do a lot better than what gold prices have in the last decade or so actually. Ramdeo, let's talk about equities in particular and the volatility that we're seeing. I mean, there is a big debate out here as well, and I think the basic debate is whether growth is picking up or we are going to see the slump continuing and things getting worse. I mean, that's the basic debate as far as India is concerned. Where do you stand on that?
See, we are passing through the worst right now. I mean, can it become worse before it becomes better? I mean, definitely someday it will become better. But I think this change in the political environment. I mean, the big election is due after a year or so. So I think there is a hello.
Go on, Ramdeo. We can hear you.
Yeah. So I think the big challenge for large investments to turn around is the new government, in the sense that whosoever comes in power, but the new policies and how things are right now. And I think excesses of last decade, corporate excesses of last decade, is yet to kind of flow through in terms of restructuring and deleveraging, and I think those pains I think we are still not through fully. And there are lots of, I mean, every other day you get to see 5,000 crores, 10,000 crores going and restructuring. So I think that phase of very large, kind of deleveraging effort is going to happen, but still we have not seen actual deleveraging happening from this credit crisis. So I think some more time for the pain could be there, but whenever the new dynamics of new government steps in the sense that maybe in 5-6 months time, which way the wind is blowing in terms of political change, I think market may take a very bullish stand on that, or maybe very bearish stand, in the sense that if we are going to go to the very fractured kind of mandate, in that case it could be very bearish also.
The way things are developing on politics, Ramdeo, with the main opposition party seemingly getting close to, putting somebody and projecting somebody as the prime ministerial candidate, not there, but getting close to it. Would you say that that's at least sentiment-wise positive?
Yeah, looks like. I mean, what are developments so far? It looks positive, and we might see some, dramatic development in next 12 months. Because what I see in Karnataka, what I see in Pakistan, or even the recent votings, people are voting very decisively, one way or other. thanks to the very active media in India, the opinion formation at a political level, I mean, which way it should be voted, whether it is rural, urban, is very well informed. So my sense is that we'll have a decisive vote in May. Hopefully, we must get decisive vote one way or other.
Okay, so you said, I mean, we are still to undergo the pain, which means what, Ramdeo? So earnings will continue to compress. GDP growth can still shoot on the downside because consumption is squeezing, investment is not picking up.
Yeah. See, I think this 5-6%, about 5% growth should not be very difficult. I mean, I'm not expert on that, but my sense is that that level of growth should not be difficult. But I think the sectors and the companies which will do well to get even that 5% growth and they get a 10% kind of earnings growth on the Sensex, I think they will become fewer. The good companies, companies with moat, companies with competitive advantages, companies those who have conducted themselves in a very responsible fashion in terms of capital allocation, I think those companies will keep doing well, and that's the darling of the market right now.
Yeah, I mean, we never tire of asking that question. The famous, the word made famous is polarization. I mean, I think it's been used to death, right? 30-40 stocks just continue to do well and do well and do well without an end in sight. But a lot of fund managers that we speak to are also starting to sound very helpless and say, well, what do you do? I mean, how much more of these stocks is one supposed to buy, and at what point do you say, well, enough is enough?
See, there are two issues, Prashant. One is that there is a quality and bad quality. I mean, good quality companies and bad quality companies. And in good qualities, you have the ones which are very secular and well recognized in the market that they are good quality companies. So they are exorbitantly priced. So, finding, positioning your portfolio fully out there, now incrementally there. I mean, incrementally, if you have bought something back, it's fine. I mean, you can continue to enjoy the sunshine which is on your portfolio. Other part is the, quality but cyclical. So that's also out of favor. So that's where some opportunities could be there. Large, unpopular right now, but they have their own franchises, which is not in favor right now. So then, and third is the, low quality. So in low quality, see, actually the really cheap, I mean, what is really below below the fair value with a huge margin of safety, or not margin of safety but actually cheap, are these so-called not so good companies, and that's where I think the biggest trade will happen. But you have to buy, and appropriate time you have to sell. So it depends on what kind of investing style you have, because I am more like buy and hold for longer term. So I would not go away from the quality, So that's the basic game.
Right. Okay. Why don't you, for a change, Ramdeo, talk about a stock or two? I mean, that you're studying, that you think is interesting, not to say to buy or sell, but just to, I mean, we've chatted about, I remember Kane India, I think last time or the time before last. And you gave an example with their production and what they could do, etc., etc. Would be interesting. I mean, if you feel okay.
Yes. Yeah, but say like Kane India, it is still, in fact, it is lower than the price we discussed last time. And with the rupee going to 57 and lower, their profits in rupee terms will further balloon. But markets have their mindset about a particular company's valuation. Net of cash, it might be trading at 3 times, 3.5 times. But you can't fight with the popular opinion right now. I mean, that's what I think. I could be wrong. I mean, only time will. This is the marketplace where you could be in value trap, and final verdict will come from the market in 2-3 years, 4 years time, whether my call was right or the the rest of the market which you're thinking that I am at wrong spot. So that's how it goes on. You have to stand by your conviction.
Okay, got that. I just want your thoughts on companies, and again I go back to the impact of the currency. right? 57, you said it can go to 60, 65 without much trouble. What happens to companies like Bharti, Hindalco, Tata Steel, essentially companies which made very large acquisitions, debt-funded acquisitions when the rupee was between 40 and 45, I think, essentially, few years back. And it's down 25% now from that point on. If the currency remains the way it is, I mean, how tough is it going to be for some of these companies? Because underlying businesses aren't exactly firing as well.
Yeah, so if the loan was bought for foreign acquisition and the acquisition is self-funding in the sense that they have, say like JLR is earning in dollars or pounds big time, $2-3 billion of profit. So whatever they acquired and borrowed, that is well taken care of in foreign currency. But some other companies like say Bharti, they bought in Zen and they put the capital, but unfortunately Zen is not able to repay, I mean they are not generating enough surplus to repay the loan undertaken by Indian companies. So the stress is actually falling onto the Indian earnings, which is rupee earnings. So rupee denominated debt has increased from say 55,000 crores to more like 70,000 crores, and now the rupee P&L has to take care of that particular repayment or stress. So that becomes a little messy, and of course their burden will increase if they don't repay quickly.
Right. So, I mean, some of these names can continue to underperform hugely. I mean, obviously, you'll have to go company by company.
Yeah, you have to go company by company. In fact, apart from this, I mean, these are well-managed companies at one level, but there are a whole lot of companies which are actually struggling in power sector and even in telecom and all, who have sunk a lot of money in terms of capital cost, and there is no end to their plight in the sense that there is no fuel supply they are seeing. I mean, this whole country, half the country is dark, and you see that today, you know, that freely traded power is 2.5 rupees, 3 rupees. It's a crazy situation. I mean, it's purely because of the fact that the distribution agencies which are there, SEBs, they don't have enough money to fund the losses, and hence they don't have money to purchase additional power to distribute among the people. So I think we are at some kind of crossroads in terms of solving problem of power sector, and that is keeping all the projects in power sector which are running into lakhs and lakhs of crores, and even the financial system which has funded all this. So everything is interlocked, and we have to find a way. Somebody will definitely find a way, but we don't see anything right now.
I got that. Ramdeo, thanks very much for your time. Great to have you with us here. Appreciate it very much. Ramdeo Agarwal with his thoughts there. Let's take a quick break. Nifty is down about 29 points right now. Sensex is down 100 points, just under 100 points. We're back in 2.